piece that God is creating out of my life, because you can't evaluate God's work by focusing on just one aspect of it. God's perspective and reach and grasp are so comprehensive, extensive, and ubiquitous. God has such a powerfully panoramic perspective of what God is working to produce that what looks like a mistake may actually be a miracle in the making. Not get it, so let me illustrate. I've seen artists create. I don't know if you have, but sometimes an artist will begin, and when they begin, you can't tell what they're creating. I've seen artists painting upside down, and then they will flip it right side up, and all of a sudden a picture makes sense. And sometimes God will let your life be like that. It'll look upside down and inside out, but then God will flip it and reverse it, and you'll be able to see that God was in it all along. See, life must be lived forward, but it can only be understood looking backward. And that means that there are certain things you won't understand until God puts you in a particular position. And that's where trust has to enter the equation. You've got to trust that God has a plan. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but stop right there. Conjunction, junction. What's your function? The function of a conjunction is to change the direction. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but that signals a change in direction. The Lord delivers them out of them all. So the next time you're suffering through a storm, captured in a crisis, or mired in some misery, remember Jeremiah 29:11 and say to yourself, I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a future and to give you hope. Tap your neighbor if you don't mind. Say, God's got a plan. See, one of the greatest disappointments of life could be spending your entire life climbing your ladder of success only to realize you were leaning on the wrong wall. God says, I know the plans that I have for you. And given the fact that about 90% of our happiness depends on our relationships, not our houses, not our cars, not our jewelry, not our credit, not our cash, but on our relationships, that's the area where God is going to give you your greatest deliverance. And you might be surprised right now at how many people would give anything just for their kids to act like they got some sense, or for their spouse to finally concede that they were right all along. Because some situations are not a trial of your faith, they're a trial of your trust. And when you go through them, you've got to remember that God has something up his sleeve. Okay, think about it like this. My wife is a musical theater performer. She has done it for years, and if you've ever been to the theater, you know that every production has multiple acts. Wouldn't it be ridiculous if you went to the theater and saw a production and you didn't like the first act, you didn't like the characters in the first act, and when the curtain came down, you got up, got in your car, and left and drove off because you didn't like the first act, you didn't like the actors in the act, and when the curtain came down, you assumed that the drama was over. I watch people do that. Just because the curtain falls don't mean the thing is over. And this is a message for our young people, because one of the greatest suicide rates is among teenagers and young adults. They give up on the whole drama because the curtain came down after the first act. Y'all ain't getting it. It fell apart, but that was just act one. You might have been abused, but that was just act one. You might have been mistreated, but that was just act one. You might have been lied on and lied to and lied about, but that was just act one. You might have been abandoned and overlooked. Don't quit, my friend. That was just act one. You might have made a mistake. You might have fallen and fell down and stayed down, got embarrassed yourself, and embarrass your family, but don't quit. That was just act one. Your best days, no, are still ahead of you. Because Because get this, whenever God permits the curtain to fall, it's because God is resetting your stage for your next act. God is getting new characters in the position. It's God's way of saying all that drama that you went through in the last act is now over. This is going to be a new scene. Get ready for your act two. See, because God is a God of exceeding greatness, which by implication means no matter how good it was, here or there, your best days are always ahead of you. It doesn't matter whether you're in your tender teens, your teachable 20s, your tireless 30s, your forcible 40s, your fearful 50s, your seasoned 60s, your settled 70s, your aching 80s, your nebulous 90s, or your prodigious 100s. Wherever you are, if you still have a pulse, God still has a plan. See, just because the curtain falls, don't assume it's over. The best is yet to come. Matter of fact, if I had a choice, Pastor, of God blessing me in the first half of my life or the second half of my life, I would always choose the second half. Can I tell you why? You got more sense in the second half of your life. You got greater wisdom in the second half of your life. You know how to handle money in the second half of your life. You know how to deal with critics and haters and people getting on your nerves in the second half. You know how to handle stuff. We're all not second half people up in here tonight. See, I enjoyed my kids in the first half of my life, but I'm loving my grandbabies in the second half of my life. Matter of fact, if I know grandkids was this much fun, I would have had them first. Amen. See, so lesson number one, some situations are not a trial of your faith, they're a trial of your trust. Y'all ready for lesson number two? Everything is either God sent or God used. Well, y'all better write that down. I'm in the text. Verse 28 says, for we know that in all things God works. Everybody say God works. God works. See, this is something we know, that everything that happens is either God sent or God used. Even when it looks like the adversary is wreaking havoc in your life, God is still in control. That's the promise of providence, that God can use rejection to create a new direction. Don't worry about people closing doors in your face, because God is a window man. He can, y'all slow, amen. He can open up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that you won't have room enough to receive. Michelle Robinson testified in her book, Becoming, how a high school counselor tried to crush her dream of attending Princeton University. The counselor looked her in the eye and judged her on the basis of what he saw and said, Michelle, you don't have what it takes to matriculate at Princeton University. That counselor closed the door, and Michelle Robinson's face, oh, I'm sorry, you don't know her as Michelle Robinson. You know her as Michelle Obama, who not only went to Princeton, but on to Harvard Law School, graduating both with honors, and now is perhaps one of the most powerful women walking on the planet. The counselor closed the door, but God opened up a window. And somebody here tonight is a witness that when people close doors in your face, God is able to open up windows. God can take an obstacle and make an opportunity, because everything is either God sent or God used. God can use everything to do anything. You know, it's amazing how often our message comes out of our mess. How often our testimony comes out of our test. Your triumph is going to come out of your trial. And that's a shout for you, because even if the enemy sent the trial, God can still bring triumph out of the trial. Even if you were a victim, you can come out of that with the victory, because you don't get victory unless you first been in a battle. God can use it even if God did not send it. And that's why there's glory in every story. I need 5 witnesses right there who are hearing this message to look at your neighbor and say, don't count me out. There's glory in my story. Never stop with just the story. Keep on pressing till you get to the glory. Because death is the ultimate negative in life. That's why God refused to leave Christ in the grave. Death was his story, but resurrection was his glory. God has a purpose in everything you go through, even if you cannot see it in the moment. So that's the second lesson. Everything is either God sent or God used. Now I can tell you may not be ready for the third one, but I'm going to drop it like it's hot anyway. Because here's the third lesson. Delay is built into the design. One of the greatest trials to vex any of our souls is when something appears to be taking a long time. Waiting can wear you out. I should have had 5 amens, 8 hallelujahs, 17, I know that's right. See, waiting can wear you out. Time changes things. You got to write that down. Because a cup may only weigh 4 ounces, but time changes things. You can pick up a 4-ounce cup, but if you hold that 4-ounce cup in your hand for 30 or 60 or 90 minutes, even though it's 4 ounces, your arm is going to ache. And that's why you have to be careful when you look at somebody carrying something, saying to yourself, oh, that ain't nothing you carrying, because you don't know how long they've been carrying it. You don't know how long they've been dealing with sickness, how long they've been struggling with death, how long they have felt unloved and unappreciated, how long their back has been hurting, how long they've had digestive issues, how long they've been dealing with insomnia. It might look small to you, but time can change things. There's a Christian cliche that says God is never late. But I'll tell you this, in my life, he sure has missed some marvelous opportunities to show up early and surprise me. That went right over your head. See, delay is built into the design. James 1:4 says, let patience have its perfect work, that you might be mature and complete, lacking nothing. Smile at your neighbor, say, neighbor, patience has a work. See, that means that time has a function in your life. Now, I've calculated at least 3 purposes of time. Can I share them very quickly? Because number 1, time will educate. Everybody say educate. There are things God cannot and will not give us until God has first educated us. Because God gives it to you. Before God educates you, you won't value it and you won't tear it up. God has to grow us so that our perspective is mature and our discernment is sharpened. Discernment is the mark of maturity. And God uses time in order to mature us. Take a 5-year-old, take them to the store and say, you can have anything you want. Now, what do you want? And they may say some candy or some kind of toy. But take a 35-year-old to the store and ask them the same question. And I guarantee they ain't going to be asking you for no toys or no candy. And if it is a toy, it won't be a cheap one. Come here, somebody. Do you know why? Because time has educated them. There's an African proverb that says, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And what I want you to learn from that tonight is that nothing leaves your life until it teaches you what you were supposed to learn. That's a litmus test for your relationships. If you exit one relationship and enter another, and the person in the new relationship begins to do the exact same things that the person in the old relationship did, that means there was a lesson you were supposed to learn in the old relationship that flunked. All men are not dogs, but if you carrying around kibbles and bits, don't be surprised by what you attract. Preach, preacher. us. It sharpens our discernment so that you become more proficient where you were deficient. You learn to recognize over time behavior patterns. And you start to say to yourself, when people show up, oh yeah, I done seen that before. I know your type. Your heart has been broken. You recognize a heart broken. If you've been lied to and deceived, you recognize the deceiver. If somebody has told you lies and hurt your life, you recognize liars when they show up. It's a reason they don't want to introduce you to their mama. Preach, brother. Amen. So you get educated. But here's the second thing. Time will expose. Time will expose things to you that were not obvious in the moment. Time exposes a seed so that you can see exactly what type of seed it is. If you don't know what type of seed it is, put it in the ground and give it time, and you will know it by its fruit. The text says, let patience have her perfect work. You got to give it time. That patience is a secret weapon that forces deception to disclose itself. Our people truthful, give them time. Our people honest, give them time. Our people loyal, give them time. Do they have good character? Give them time. If it's fake, time will expose it. And if it's true, it will endure the test of time. Give it time. If it's gold-plated and not solid gold, just give it time, and the gold plating will wear off. Time can also expose potential that you didn't realize you had, because there are certain things you don't even know you can do until you have to do it. Okay, you didn't get it, but many of you have heard of an oyster. Everybody eat oysters, wave at me. Or if you've heard of an oyster, wave at me, amen. If you haven't heard of an oyster, there's an elementary school right down the road, amen. An oyster is just minding its own business, trying to collect food on the bottom of the sea. It opens its mouth, hoping that some food will come into its mouth. It opens its mouth while fish who are swimming past will stir up the sand on the bottom of the ocean, and with its mouth open, instead of getting a mouthful of food, an oyster gets a mouthful of sand. That sand wasn't supposed to be there. That sand is a natural irritant, but inside the oyster, the sand forces the oyster to release hormones and minerals that it had on the inside all along. That irritation provokes the oyster to produce something that it never would have produced if it had not been irritated. And from the irritation, a pearl is produced. Don't you know that's what God does through time in our life? God will permit someone or something to irritate you because it's going to force you to release what's already inside of you to handle what irritates you. And by the time the lesson is finished, what irritated you will no longer be vital. It'll be valuable because time will expose. Time will educate, and time will eliminate. Time will eliminate things you have outgrown. It might be interesting tonight to follow some of us home and examine our closets. Because I suspect that I'm not the only person in here who has clothes in your closet from a previous stage of your life. Suits and shirts and skirts that cannot fit, but like me, you haven't discarded them because you keep promising yourself every New Year's Day that you're going to be able to wear them again one day. It's hard to admit that things that used to flatter you no longer fit you. That some of the things you used to wear, you will never get back in again. Spanx notwithstanding. That means that after a certain amount of time, in order to remain healthy, there has to be an elimination. And that's the function of time. Time will help you to eliminate some stuff that you have outgrown. grown. 1 Corinthians 13:11, Paul says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away, I eliminated, I discarded, I got rid of my childish behaviors. And that's why it's so critical in a First Start revival that we not just attend, but that we make a commitment to our own growth. Let yourself grow spiritually. Let yourself grow mentally. Let yourself grow emotionally. Let yourself grow financially. You got to detox from anything and anybody that's constantly delivering negativity into your life, because God is trying to grow you into the person that God created you to be. Okay, I can see I'm plucking your nerves, so let me go to number 4 and pluck a little more. God's answer to every problem is a person. When you go through various things in life, God uses people. Whenever you find yourself in the dark, don't forget what God told you in the light, because everything that God spoke in the light is still true, even though you are in the dark. And if you live long enough, it's not a matter of if you will experience darkness, it's only a matter of when. When you go through the darkness, God will be right there with you. When you go through the fire, God goes with you. When you are in water over your head, God is in the water with you. The water will not drown you. The fire will not burn you. You know why? Either God will deliver you from the fire, or God will make you fireproof. Either way, you survive. God's answer to every problem is a person. Can I explain? In Luke 6:38, Jesus taught, give, and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Now, most of us can quote it that far, and we usually stop right there. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over. You got to read the rest of the verse. It says, shall people pour into your bosom. Who is God going to use to bless you? People. God is going to use people to give you money. People to give you support. See, y'all didn't even hear what I said. Because if you heard it and halfway believed it, you would have leaned over to your neighbor right there and said, go on, give it up, man. God is going to use people to give you encouragement. People to give you guidance. People to give you correction. People to give you connection. People to give you direction. Here's the premise. He said, you give, and here's the promise. It will be given to you. It's not going to fall out of the sky. It's going to be given by people. Now, I know why y'all ain't shouting. Can I tell you why? That number 1, what that means is you got to be connected to other people. Number 2, that means you got to work to build relationships with other people. And number 3, this is why y'all didn't shout, you got to be careful how you treat other people. Because you don't ever know who God is going to use to bring you your blessing. God's answer to every problem is always a person. Okay, I'll give you an example. Remember, like the people of Israel were enslaved in Egypt, what was God's answer? A person. God raised up Moses. Remember when the walls of Jerusalem lay in ruins, what was God's answer? A person. God raised up Nehemiah. Remember the chasm between heaven and humans, what was God's answer? A person. God raised up Jesus Christ, born in a barn, heralded by angels, worshipped by the wise men, hunted by Herod, smuggled into Africa, reared in Nazareth, baptized in Jordan, stalked by Satan, tempted in the wilderness, came out preaching, healed the sick, raised the dead, fed the hungry, gave sight to the blind, but was betrayed by a buddy, forsaken by his friend, denied by Peter, taunted by the crowd, beat by the soldiers, nailed to the cross, buried in shame, but he got up in victory because God uses people. How does God respond to the needs and hurts and problems of people in Bermuda? God raises up people like you and people like me. Look at your neighbor, say, I am the answer. Amen. No, you ain't giving them enough energy right there. Look how I'm saying, I am the answer. See, don't be praying that God is going to do something if you ain't willing to be part of the answer. Talking about God, go and visit the sick. No, you do it. Praise, brother. Amen. God help so-and-so, they ain't got no food. You do it. See, after you get up off your knees, you got to be willing to be a part of the answer. So don't miss the lessons tonight. Some situations are not a trial of your faith. They're a trial of your trust. Number two, everything is either God sent or God used. Number three, delay is built into the design. Number four, God's answer to every problem is always a person. Number five, all change begins with a decision. This word that Paul uses is unique because all is one of the unique words in English that can be used as an adjective, an adverb, a noun, or a pronoun. And whenever the Bible says all, and I looked this up to make sure I had the definition right, whenever the Bible says all, you know what it means? All! It's unique and it's informative because what it's telling us is that God works in the good and the bad, the positive and the negative, the ups and the downs, in sickness and in health, in poverty and in prosperity. It's not either or, it is and both. Just as a battery in your car has polarity, both a positive and negative charge, so does God work in your life. God works through it all, in it all, despite it all. But you got to decide whether you're going to trust God. And change begins with a decision. That word decide comes from the Latin word discernere, which literally means to cut off. Every time you make a decision, you are cutting off other options. Incision is the state of cutting in. Excision is the state of cutting out. Circumcision is the state of cutting around. But a decision is when you cut off. And there are decisions all of us have to make. You have to decide to believe in God. You got to decide to believe the scriptures. You got to decide to try life God's way. You have to decide what and whom you will believe. You have to decide whether you're going to be happy. You have to decide whether you're going to be healthy and holy. You got to decide what you will and will not tolerate, where you will and will not participate. If you got a bad attitude, you can't blame nobody but yourself because you chose to have a bad attitude. And you have the power to change it. It all depends on how you see it. Let me try to explain and I'll be out of your way. That my little grandson, 4 years old, came into my office about a month ago with a box of crayons. Now, I made sure that my grandchildren had what I didn't have. Because when I was growing up, all I had was the 8-pack of Crayola. But my grandchildren have the 64-pack with the sharpener attached to it. And he came in to my office, sat down with his crayons, and began to go to work. He said, Papa, I'm going to sit right here and do my work like you. He said, can I have some paper? Yes, sir. He said, I'm going to color with my crayon. He said, you see this crayon, Papa? This is my favorite crayon. So I gave him paper, and he started to color with his favorite crayon, but he bore down too hard, and his crayon broke in half. He immediately started to cry, and immediately I said, EJ, don't cry. You got 63 other crayons that you can use. He said, I don't like them. This is my favorite crayon, and it's broke. So then I reached down in my resource bag, and I said, don't worry, EJ. Papa will fix it. That didn't satisfy me. His sister came into the room, and I reached down in my theological resources, and I said, but now, EJ, you have 2 of your favorite crayons, and you can share one with your sister. Because listen, I understood that you don't have anything to share until you've been broken. Y'all missed that. I thought that was satisfying, that he would appreciate my theological profanity. But he didn't stop crying. He just kept on hollering. And then I remembered something I saw on social media. And taking his crayon, I said, EJ, look, broken crayons still color. And that's somebody's word going out of Mount Zion tonight. That broken crayons still color. Even if you've been broken and can't put it back together, there's still something that God wants to color with your life. There's still something that God wants to create in your life. Broken crayons still color. There's something God wants to cause, something God wants to chalk, something God wants to carve, something God wants to change, something God wants to channel, something God wants to compile, something God wants to configure, something God wants to cultivate. Broken crayons still color. Have I got any witnesses here? Is there anybody here who can testify that God took the brokenness of your life and made something beautiful out of it? You ought to shake somebody's hand and say, I've been broken, but I can still color. God can still use me. I still worthwhile. I'm still valuable. And when I think of the goodness of God and everything He's done for me, my soul cries hallelujah, because all things are working for my good. I don't have to worry because it's working for my good. I don't have to panic because it's working for my good. Is there a witness here? Is there anybody here who believes in your heart that it's working for your good? Take your neighbor by the hand.